All right, we're here with Mr. John McAfee, CEO of MGT. And Mr. McAfee, we're curious what your take is on the public school system and some of the thoughts that you might have for parents out there who will be watching and would be open to hear your ideas from a successful entrepreneur like yourself.
Well, it's not just the public schools, it's any schooling system out there today. The paradigm of formal education, I think, is non-functional in this modern world. I mean, for example, you have an area of science or philosophy or finance or whatever that you love, and you sit in a class that's taught by one person whose knowledge base might be 10 or 15 years old, has not retrained themselves. And you have the world's knowledge filtered through one human mind, and that's what you receive. But look at the internet. What do children do now when they want to find something out? Okay, you want to find something out about whatever the new game Pokemon Go. You don't learn that from school. You go onto the internet, and there are thousands of articles written by 1,000 different people, and you get to choose. Maybe you'll choose 3 or 4, written by 3 or 4 different people with 3 or 4 different perspectives. And so the same thing in everything, whether it's mathematics or science or what have you, you can, excuse me one second here, let me turn this off. So you can go on the internet, look at that specific field of mathematics, and I don't care how arcane that may be, I guarantee you'll find hundreds or perhaps thousands of articles written by different people with different minds and different perspectives, and you're going to learn more in 1 hour than you could in an entire semester of listening to one teacher teach this subject. So to me, it's insane. It's truly insane, because the reality is kids today learn more from social media than they do from formal education. Now, the danger is that the social media and much of the internet is false information. But you think that you may not get the same thing from a teacher. False meaning a teacher has not kept up with the subject matter, and therefore that matter is out of date and therefore false. Plus, kids are getting smarter. If they read some news item in social media, vampires eat the faces off of people in Walmart in Tennessee. Okay, well, right off the bat, they're going to go to one of these websites that verifies these stories and say, this is a fake story. It's fake news. So they're not stupid. And in fact, they learn more about life from that very thing. To know that, there are people who actually purposely disseminate falsehoods, disinformation, for whatever reason. So then when they look at the government, and the government tells us, this or that is going to happen or has happened and we need to do this or that, they are far more skeptical than us adults, because they have lived in a world where skepticism is a necessary part of survival. So good Lord, what can you possibly learn from formal education today that is not vastly inferior from just sitting in front of a computer or carrying a smartphone around and looking up information about the things that you love? Isn't this vastly superior? A kid in Kansas who's going to be a farmer, do they need the same education as the New York City person who wants to be a stockbroker? I don't think so. The person in Kansas is going to start looking up how to plant corn and what are the new techniques of fertilizing soil and rotating crops. Where do you get the best weather information, and what is the best harvest time, and so on and so forth. Well, good Lord. Again, in a day of solid study on the net, I guarantee you'll get more than a year of solid study in a formal education program. So I believe that 10 years from now, our school system is going to be radically changed or will be gone. And school will be back in the hands of the people that should have had it to begin with. That is the parents, the guardians, your extended family, telling you that what is it you want to do with your life? Okay, well then here, let me help you. Right here is this device that will allow you to find out anything that you want to know. But you need to be skeptical, you need to be judicious, you need to think carefully about the information that's given to you. Do they teach that in school? No. But all you have to do is have a Facebook account to know that, good Lord, I need to be skeptical. Because half of this information is disinformation. And how then do I judge and verify that? Well, we know. You go to this site or that site and they'll say, yeah, this is a fake news story. Or just use your own judgment and say, that just doesn't sound right. Or the last time I read a story from this person, that turned out to be false. So maybe this one is too. Our kids are going to be much smarter socially, culturally, scientifically than we ever were if we allow this technology that's unfolding to take its rightful place at the table we call education.
Absolutely. And what would you share with parents who see there is some disruption in technology and internet is the future, but they're still hesitant to do something different than traditional schooling or formal schooling, like homeschooling or democratic schooling or Montessori, something where the child is respected? They're afraid to do that because they might ruin their kid's life, or their friends aren't doing it. Would you share some words of encouragement to help parents understand the vast paradigm shift we're in the midst of right now in 2016?
Well, I think the key word is ruining your children's lives. What does that mean? If you, in fact, buy into our government's insanity that wants to control everything from your movements, the things that you do with your own body, the things you put into your own mind, and the formal education that comes out of that attitude, is this not the worst thing that could ruin your child? To try something different and take your child down a different path, what do you risk by that? You know, I mean, you might look curious, your child might look curious to their playmates, but believe me, as this catches on, more and more of your child's playmates will be doing the same thing. And then what will look curious is the person who goes through a public education system. So, you know, you have to take the long-term approach to your child's future. You know, this is your job. I mean, if you're a parent, you know, you're halfway on the way out. Your child is just coming in. You have an obligation to do the best that you can, taking all things into consideration. All of us have survived being ostracized by some set of peers, by doing something different or being different, looking different, acting different, speaking different. The world has changed. Even in public education, you have all the races learning together and different cultures and different styles of clothes, and so it won't be that bad. Maybe what people are afraid of is the responsibility that they have to take on themselves. Because if you send your kid to public school, you go, on me, school did it. But if it's in your hands, then you have to take that responsibility. And that might be the thing you're afraid of, rather than it might be bad for the child. It just might be a burden for you. But it's a burden that you took on when you chose to have children. So bear with it.
Great. And is there any final words you want to share with parents, or share any projects that you're working on there at MGT that the world should know about? Just any closing thoughts here?
Yeah, at MGT, my company, we are working on things that will also help your children, because education by itself is not sufficient. If in fact the government, covert agencies, and others can break into the privacy of your life and your children's life, then what will the world be like? I mean, you'll have a well-educated child that still must live in a cage, because everything, every step, every thought, every word is watched. And if it's watched, it will ultimately be controlled. And that control will create the cage for your child. So you must have privacy and security that goes hand in hand with education for children, else that education will end up being locked into that cage with your child. So that's what we are doing. Privacy is my big concern. People do not understand that privacy is the glue that holds society together. And if you think of it, We all think we have nothing to hide, but that's the greatest lie we can tell ourselves. Do you have nothing to hide from who? Your wife, your husband, your spiritual guidance, your parents. Do we all have nothing to hide from our parents, no matter how old we get? Of course, we are very selective about the information that we give to every relationship in our life, whether it's our spouse, our brother, our parents, our spiritual guide, the government, the IRS, our boss at work. I'm sure that no one has ever called in sick when you weren't really too sick to work. Well, if you've done this, then this is something that you probably want to hide from your boss. So please get real with yourself. If all of these choices that we constantly make in terms of the level of privacy that we will allow any given relationship, then you would realize that if that level of privacy disappears, all privacy disappears, we will have chaos. We are imperfect creatures, filled with fear and greed and secrecy, as well as joy and hope and love. And that mixed bag requires that if we were to have a smoothly functioning society, then privacy is absolutely necessary, and more necessary now than ever, given the technological capabilities of our government and others to break into that privacy to an unprecedented degree. So hand in hand with education has to come respect and concern for your child's privacy and security. Thank you very much.
The world is flat. I hear this term being used a lot lately. What exactly does it mean?
Well, it means that this is a time in history where literally everyone is on the same playing field for business and professional success. The economy is moving so quickly right now, the opportunities are endless.
Sounds interesting. Tell me about that.
Okay. Practically everything in the world has changed. The internet has literally created one big connected world.
That is so true. Technology has come a long way. Even my phone in my pocket is like a computer. My kids love it and are always playing with it.
I think it's something we should try to embrace.
Yeah, but these kind of changes make me really worried about my kids' futures. Aren't you a little bit worried about that?
Honestly, I used to be, but I realize it's about empowering our children, and the options are great. Have you ever heard of unschooling?
Unschooling? No, I don't think I've heard about that.
It's something you should really check out, or maybe even private school.
Where do you learn about this stuff?
I learned about this at the Education Options Expo. It's a really fun, great event where we as parents can learn about the options for our children's educational success.
Sounds great. When and where is this expo?
Saturday, March 25th in San Jose. Doors open at 9 a.m. Come discover the exciting possibilities for your child's education in 2017 and beyond. The Education Options Expo is just a place to find answers to your questions. Are you curious about homeschooling? Would you like to learn about apprenticeships? How about self-directed learning? Is your child interested in rap or other kinds of music? Does your child want to become a leader and create safer neighborhoods? How can students become independent journalists? What is Acton Academy? What is a holistic school? How do you transition from public schooling into homeschooling? These topics and many more will be discussed on March 25th in San Jose. Get your early bird tickets and save now. Plus, there's free parking and free childcare with every ticket. Reserve your seat now and come discover the future of education today.
Hey, I just registered for the expo. Super excited. Yeah, I'll see you there.